We'll see. All right. Well, I'll kick us off. I am Daniel. I was an accidental admin turned accidental architect and now an accidental founder. And there was one real core concept that ran through my entire career, and it's making things super efficient in a way that regular people can understand. So today, I'm going to show y'all real world examples on how you can use AI to gain superpowers. Now, the key here in this presentation is not to replace operations teams, right? Not to replace admins, not to replace developers, not to replace architects even, but to strengthen them. So the whole premise around this will be about being stronger, developing those superpowers. Outstanding. All right, so quick baseline. How many of y'all work without an architect, in an org without a full-time architect? Some, maybe, who knows? I started out my career, like I said, as an accidental admin. I had no architect. I had no backup. So architects do make the world a lot easier in terms of systems in general. They're a fantastic resource. They're just nerds, right? They're just nerds who get nerdy on nerdy things. We want them to have superpowers too. So once again, reiterating, you don't have to think that this is a presentation on getting rid of architects. When I was an accidental admin, everything, like I said, I didn't have an architect. So everything I was doing was surface level. I got pulled from tier 1 software support to be the Salesforce admin and just solve problems because I was a problem solver. I didn't have any support system, so everything was just go, go, go. No matter what they were asking, I was just I'll solve it, I'll solve it, I'll solve it. Looking back on that now, terrible idea. I actually got to go back to my first org and I got to see all my original mistakes, which is humbling to say the least. When I became an accidental architect, I was doing deep dives, right, on documentation, best practices during my off time, because once you get to that level of nerd, you're just nerding out on everything. I would also engage with the community, so any of the Slacks, the Salesforce Exchange Discord. I would just answer questions wherever I could. Because they were all problems that I hadn't encountered or org types that I hadn't encountered. In between all of that, right, I did everything from in-house to consulting, for-profit, nonprofit. I was all over the place. So where does AI come in? And you got those two ends of the spectrum. AI can fill in some of those gaps between the admin world and the architect world, but it also can help reduce those tedious tasks. You have to use it the right way, though, to help you actually become stronger. So that's kind of what I'm going to focus on today, is how you can use AI right now in your life and how to use it in a way that will produce good results. So we're going to kind of just dive in. That's enough background, right? We're admins and stuff. We're in the Salesforce world. We like seeing action. So I'm just going to scoot this presentation over to the side. I'm already prepared. Yeah, I do what I can. Okay, so let's do some demos, some real world demos. We're going to do something first. We're going to kind of start out at a super simple org. Maybe they just implemented Salesforce, and we're going to go all the way through the different complexities of Salesforce, the different complex orgs that you'll run into. So first org, it's going to be somebody who just did a quick start. They had a consultant come in, they spun up Salesforce quickly. The one nerd in the business, they inherited everything like you always do. And now they're the Salesforce admin. They want to build an automation where they can automate some case closures. They got a request from support management. Hey, we want to close these cases. You can just ask that question, right? You could come in here and I have everything copied, just ready to go. You could come into ChatGPT. That's what you're seeing on my screen right now. We'll make it a little larger. And you can just you can throw that information in there. I want to build an automation to close all cases associated with a contact or an account that runs from a button on the contact or account record. How can I do that? That's fine. That's not going to get you a great answer. There's this thing called prompt engineering that I'll dive into in just a second. You probably heard about it. It's basically if you asked a Google search, right? If you did a Google search for Service Cloud error, you're going to get the worst results. It's not going to help you out in any way, shape, or form. But if you made a similar Google search that said Salesforce Service Cloud error when generating a case from email to case, like it's going to start like filtering it down. So you have to think about sales, or you have to think about AI in kind of like that similar manner. So we're going to run this in ChatGPT and see what it brings back to us. This is a brand new ChatGPT login. I just wanted to see like how ugly of a response it would give me just right out of the gate. So we've got like an auto launch flow with a custom button or quick action. You can see it's giving us some information with regards to like setup flows, all that fun stuff. That's giving us some info. That's fine. I'm going to copy this and we're going to scoot it over to another new login in Claude. So Claude is another large language model. We're going to run the same thing and we get some information. It's starting to like think about us in the Salesforce context. You can see that Claude went down the rabbit hole. It was like, hey, you want to do some Apex classes and some LWCs? No, we don't. This is a quick start. This is an admin doing these searches. So this is going a little too deep. We'll let that just run through and let it create its information. So this would be too complicated. Now we want to get back to that prompt engineering where we're not just asking this very simple question. And I actually built a form on my website. I'll share a link with y'all that helps you write a better prompt specifically for Salesforce, right? Like I'm a Salesforce nerd, so I built this around Salesforce. This AI prompt helper, you get to specify the different things like, okay, I'm working with Service Cloud. All right, that's going to pass in a little more information and kind of help out our AIs. I've got the industry, it's optional, it's financial services. My experience level with Salesforce, it's beginner. You could say user, right? I've worked with some nonprofits in the past who it's just like, it's somebody who could log into Google the fastest. They're just a user, but they're trying to like answer admin questions. And then you can see like, how do you want the AI to respond? We've got a step-by-step guidance and we're the administrator. We're not a developer, end user, consultant, or an architect. Same question dropped in here. I do have a limitation in here though, right? I'm not a developer, so no Apex, please. And we'll generate that prompt. I've already generated the prompt because I'm trying to do good with demos. And you can see this prompt goes kind of ham, right? Like we've got the instructions that are being given to the AI. So this is, you can think about this if you're on like the developer side. This is like the system message that you're passing before you actually pass the request. So it's saying, you're a Salesforce expert, consultant providing detailed advice. Review the following and provide tailored guidance. And you can see how this prompt, right, instead of it just being that simple request, it's breaking it down into something that's a little more detailed. The context, we're in Service Cloud, we're financial industry, we're an admin at a beginner level. We've got our actual question and our limitations and constraints. And then you can see down here, we've got response requirements. And these are the things that we're looking to provide. So instead of you having to like think about, all right, I want to build this prompt out that's just going to be ridiculous and have all of these details, you don't have to worry about that. I built a prompt helper to help that out. We'll copy this to the clipboard and we'll jump back into ChatGPT and we'll start off with a new chat temporary. We'll just run this. Now you can see it's going to start giving us a little more information, right? Like it's breaking things down in like in a better manner using declarative tools only. Perfect. No Apex code. Right on. We don't want to deal with any of that Apex right now. We'll learn that later. That's a tomorrow problem. So the overview of the approach, right? This is like, you can kind of see the sprinklings of architect mentality. It's breaking down, what you're going to be doing and the why, right? We're going to be creating a screen flow. It's going to find all the open cases related to, and it's going to update them with closed. We get step-by-step instructions that like even break down. Like if you're looking here, click the gear icon, right? Like it's not even like letting you think about it for a second. It's like top right corner, hit that gear. We're going to go to setup. We're going to go find our flows and we're going to go ham from there. We start our new flow and it starts breaking everything down for us. So from an admin perspective, and once again, you have to think about this org. This org is very much like it's the newbies. It's people who have never interacted with Salesforce really. They just did a quick start. And if I had just done a quick start or when I just did a quick start, like this information would have been like super wonderful. I mean, back in my day, we had like workflow rules and process builders, but ignore that. I'm not old. What I'm saying is like this at least helps you like start walking through like flows and understanding like, okay, what are these updates that we're going to be doing? And like as you're reading through this, some of that is sinking in and is going to stay with you, right? So like as you're reading through this, you'll get a little osmosis, and some of these points will stick in your brain. You've got important considerations and warnings. So it's even giving you some things like, hey, remember, you got to get this stuff and you need to have it available for input. If you just created the flow and you just had that variable there, it's not there for input, you would be like running all sorts of tests and it would just never work. We'll actually have a follow-up question to this, and that's going to be, this is going to help kind of show that architect mentality. Is there anything that you can recommend that I'm not thinking about that might cause a problem later? Now, when I put my solution architect hat on, I start thinking about like, oh yeah, we're going to have like, you got to bulkify everything. Like you don't want to get into that problem where, you know, you're hitting limits. Luckily, that's like number 2 on like, hey, think about this for the future. We've got user permissioning, you know how Salesforce loves permissioning, and then field tracking, compliance, all of these things that as a new admin in a new org, there's a strong possibility you wouldn't even think about. So you can start using AI in a new org to help prepare you for the future and to keep you from like basically stepping on a landmine, right? Where you're going to find out in the future something's really broken. When I've been in too many orgs where you show up and you're like, oh yeah, this is all going to have to be rewritten. Okay, that's demo number 1. That's fine. But let's get into something a little more complicated. So let's put on our imagination hats. And the setup for this is we're in a more complicated org. You're working as the admin and as the product owner. Y'all know how it is in the Salesforce world. We just get roles. Like everybody just assigns us with more roles. So you're the product owner. Now what you can do is this next request is going to be about prioritization of the backlog. Have you ever gotten a backlog and it's just like a slew of every request that everyone ever gave to whoever was there before you, or you know, whoever was that product owner or project manager? When you get that backlog, it's hard to wrap your hands around it and really like identify what needs to happen. So we're going to jump right over to our friend, the prompt helper. I already saved, like I said, I saved all my prompts. If we hop over here, I got them all saved right here. No big deal. I saved this out and you can see, can you prioritize and t-shirt size this list of backlog items? I generated the prompt again. We get all of this beautiful data. It's not gorgeous, right? It's not in well-formatted JSON or like a CSV, but we can still see what we can do with this. So we're going to go ahead and jump over to ChatGPT again, and we'll paste that in there. Make sure we're pasting the right thing, and we'll submit it. And we'll let it run. This is going to require a little bit more thought, right? It's giving us those key concepts that are involved, and it's breaking down all of them. So it looked at our entire backlog, and it was like, hey, you got to know about pick lists. You got to know about flows, validation rules. Fantastic. We love that. As we scroll down, you'll see this prioritized backlog with t-shirt sizing. Now, I'll go back in my solution architect hat, and I'll evaluate some of these. The automate case escalation, I would say that's high, right? It definitely impacts SLAs and customer service. Medium if documentation is done. So like even as you're like evaluating what the AI is providing you, like you can think about these things too. Like we'll cover that in our follow-up, right? But like you're getting provided with a Google result, right? When you do a Google search, when you're using AI, and my Google's kicked on. When you're using AI, you've got to evaluate these as well. I would probably prioritize this add validation rule around the close date just because it's so easy. So as a solution architect, I would throw that in right out of the gate. And then maybe automate case escalation a little lower, add some lead sources. We'd scoot that up just because it's so easy. You could get some quick wins. And maybe instead of building the sales rep dashboard, maybe we could teach them how to build some reports and dashboards. But that's a tomorrow problem. Right now, we're just talking about t-shirt sizing and prioritization. Now you scroll down a little further and you start to see this like detailed beginner level guidance for top items. It's like breaking it down for you. So like you ask the question, it starts breaking down. Okay, you're thinking about case escalation. The thing to remember with any of these AIs is they are generalized, right? So they're not like specifically focused deep diving in the Salesforce world or in like business systems overall. They're like generalized across anything. You can ask them anything and it'll respond in some way. So this automate case escalation, they're showing using like Flow Builder. There can be better tools for that, but this is the generalized LLM that we're working with. We've got some scheduled paths, right? If we have a lot of cases, we don't want just a bunch of scheduled jobs just sitting out there, but those are things to think about. And then we've got the validation rule. Now, this validation rule, since this is a generalized large language model, like it hits it out of the park. It's like, here's your validation rule. You can create this right now and have that validation covered, which is pretty tight. Still breaks more things down, create a role hierarchy for APAC. That's pretty simple, knock that thing out. And then it follows up. Would you like me to prepare a visual Kanban style board layout of this backlog as well? Well, they've already prepared like this table. We can take this table and we can copy it. We can throw it into Jira. Maybe we use Jira. Maybe we use TaskRay. Maybe we just use Google Sheets. Who knows? I don't know how complicated y'all's orgs are. I definitely use Google Sheets to track a lot of projects back in the day. But you can take this out and you can toss it right back in there and have it identified with what you're feeling. So maybe you're going to have a meeting with your manager and you want to have this at a high level evaluated with prioritization and t-shirt sizing. That took like all of 7 seconds, right? Like that didn't take you all day to read through it and get a good understanding, but it still gives you that starting point. And I'll talk about that later. Like the starting point is usually my biggest hill. Like I hate going up that hill, but once I'm up there, like everything's golden afterwards. Okay, let's test this in another realm. I saw that y'all recently had some Agentforce demos, so I figured I would show a demo in Agentforce as well. So we'll take that same prompt and we'll drop it into Agentforce. Now this Agentforce, it's a custom topic that I'm working on getting. We actually don't have to do the full prompt. It's a custom agent and action that I'm getting approved for this app that I'm building. But we just want to show it off. So now we don't have to send in that giant prompt, right? Because this is actually trained on Salesforce. This is using Salesforce knowledge. You can see you don't have to like break down all that like big prompt, and it still provides you back with automate your case escalation, hit up your add validation rules, create role hierarchy. So it lays things out for you. And then it gives you your high, medium, and lows, and then you can send that on its way. Since this is Agentforce, thank you. We'll say thank you. In this app that I built, it will create a solution record and create a request record, which is cool. And then you can go ahead and close that. So, little pause there, just as a reminder. Any of these LLMs that you're going to be using, as long as you're not inputting any instructions, they're going to be generalized. So that's something you just got to plant in the back of your head. If it offers you some suggestions, when I was building my app, I was running some tests on the different large language models that are the big ones, right? Like ChatGPT, XAI, Claude. ChatGPT responded back with a task that I wanted it to do. I was like, hey, every time an opportunity is closed won, I want you to create a list of tasks that are templatized. It told me to go to setup and find task templates. And I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for like 11 years. And I was like, I've never heard of task templates. Is this a thing? It's not. It hallucinated it. So that will lead you down 30 minutes of a waste of your life. Don't go down that path. Always just have that in your mind on like, let me double check what they're actually offering me up as a solution. Cool. Okay, we're going to go to our next demo. And this is going to be a complicated one, right? Like we're in a complex org, but we've got development help. We've got some contractors that we've developed, or some contractor developers that we have that we farm out some work to. And the org is just complicated. Maybe we rolled into it, we got hired, and it was just something that had existed over a decade. I'm not speaking from experience, but I am speaking from experience. I'm just kidding. I rolled into an org And it was just the account page was like 32 scrolls long. Like all of it was bad. I was like, I've got to clean everything. So sometimes you roll into an org and you have to have some things that you got to fix. All right, let's look at one of my saved prompts. We've got the same information filled out. We've moved up in our experience level. We're now intermediate. We want explanations instead of step-by-step. And our request is, I need to convert our process builders to flows and Apex. I don't want you to just auto-convert because we need to evaluate if they're actually still used. These process builders keep making our Apex test fail. Also, just a side note, have you ever had to like turn off process builders just so you could deploy like code from a sandbox? It's awful. Don't get in that world. Can you help me out? Can you help me build a project plan for this? And the work will be split between myself, an admin, and 2 contractor developers. Since they're contractors, I want their time to be used as efficiently as possible. We've got our prompt. It's beautiful. We'll copy this. I did put in as one of the limits, I don't write code. So like really hammering, like, no, don't hand me off any code, please and thank you. And for this, we'll jump back to our friend ChatGPT and we'll run it. Now, as this is running, you'll see, it's populating some stuff for us and giving us those key concepts involved. A project plan like this, like starting it out, that's one of the things that is like the bane of my existence in like a solution architect world. I would create templates on templates on templates just to like help that hill be a little smaller to climb up. This makes it way easier. Like using these large language models makes it way easier. So you'll see that we're going to be talking about like process builders. We're going to be talking about flow, Apex, test failures, all that fun stuff. But it gave us a project plan, right? Phase 1, discovery and assessment. Admin, that's all you. You got a week to inventory. Really dive deep on some things. Score them. And it gives you some like actual scores to use. So it's like doing that level of thinking for you, which is pretty fantastic. Deactivate unused process builders first, only after testing deactivation in the sandbox. I do love that it also throws in those little things. These are the things that like an architect would like give you pause and remind you, hey, you should definitely be doing this in the sandbox. And then you start getting into the actual phase 2 migration plan, admin with dev input, which is phenomenal. It starts breaking things down, flow versus Apex. And like talking about like, okay, use Apex when, and breaking it down in a way that is easy enough to understand at like an admin level. You don't have to know like about crazy code. It's just saying, hey, if it's complex, if there's complex branching, recursion, performance concerns, yeah, just kick that right over to the devs. And then, the rest of the project plan is right here. It laid all that out once again in no time at all. I didn't pass in anything that is confidential. I didn't pass in anything that is like trade secrets. It's just a generalized request. Now we'll ask the same thing. We'll have the same prompt. We'll send that over to Claude. Like I said earlier, Claude was my favorite. In all of the tests that I ran, it always turned out like the most. There haven't been as many rollbacks with Claude. That's a good way to say it. So ChatGPT just had like a version that they had to roll back because it was just like, it was too glowing. Every time you would ask it a question, it would be like, you're a genius. This is wonderful. Like, calm down. I just need answers and like a good project plan. All right, here we have relatively the same information, right? It summarized our key Salesforce concepts a little better. It still broke it down. Broke down phase 1 into a lot of different sub-steps. Phase 2, phase 3 with implementation, testing, all great things. And then you can take this and just paste it right into a Google Doc, right? You can just copy and paste this out, and now you have a project plan that you can bring to the team, that you can have in a shared folder where everyone can know what their processes are, and you can also get them to evaluate it, right? See if there's anything else that they're not thinking about. Now we will do one more test in a different sort of realm. We'll go back to our friend Agentforce, but instead of using Agentforce, we'll use this other app that I built. And I want to copy this word. Okay, so we'll paste this in here. It's got request or response type as simple. We'll change this out to complex because we do want this to be like a little more thinking. This is calling 2 different models, right? It's calling like a very surface level model And then it goes one step deeper and goes, it goes with a more complicated model. And this is currently pointed at Claude. So now we'll wait for this to run. In the meantime, we'll open up our request record so that we can see how we can kind of like save this information. The beautiful thing about any of this presentation is like there are so many free ways that you can solve problems now, that you can be a better admin now, that you can be a better dev now, you can be a better architect now, right? Like right out of the gate, as long as you're using these technologies. So you don't want to be, getting left behind with these techs. And a lot of my former admins that I worked with, they are not diving as deep as they need to. So I'm doing these presentations to help them like get that footing and kind of move faster. Same thing. The question was a lot easier to ask because you didn't have to have the prompt, but it still follows up with the same information, right? We're going to give our discovery and analysis, our design, our implementation. In ChatGPT and Claude, you would see these saved, right, over in your new chats. Same thing with ChatGPT. I turned this on temporary so it didn't actually save it so that we wouldn't have it interfered with anything. Over in here in this app that I built, it's got the request. The request has the solution record. So you always have that information ready to be worked upon or handed out to as anyone would need it. I still like Claude more. I'm not even going to lie about it to y'all. But you're really not going to do bad as long as you're in any of these. As long as you're playing with any of these, and as long as you're learning, because you don't want to get left behind on this. Okay, let's go back to our presentation. So AI Sidekick hits with best practices, documentation, reduce those oops. Now let's actually talk about these use cases. So the best practices, it can help you avoid common misconfigurations. It can help you follow best practices that you don't even know are best practices yet. No matter where you're at in your career with Salesforce loves throwing curveballs at us and hitting us up with new best practices. When Process Builder came out, the rule was one process builder per object, or one process builder per DML, right? Like if you really want to get fancy with it, you could start breaking it out by like your upserts and your inserts and your befores and whatever. When they went to flows, it got a little more Wild West, and they kind of leaned back away from that one flow per object. And now they're saying, well, if you're putting the logic up into the criteria that's firing the flow, then you can just build it out. It's not you're not using CPU time for that. So AI can help you know those best practices without actually knowing those best practices yet. And the beauty there is like through osmosis, through using this AI and seeing different things, just like interacting with the community, just like interacting with this user group, right? You will start pulling things into your head that you're not even aware are showing up. Documentation. AI can quickly pull relevant insights and share those docs with you. That's great, but it can also help you build documentation. That's even greater, right? Like building documentation. I love building documentation when it comes to like system mapping and like seeing like a true data flow. I'm more of a visual learner. But like it's also hard to start that up. It's hard to like kick off a process doc. It's hard to kick off a project doc. So AI can help you kick that off, start developing templates in your mind, and not going down like the rabbit hole of like some consultants, they have some templates that are crazy long, like really like 1.1.1.1, right? For the first thing that they're building up. They have to do that because you're paying them a lot of money. If you're using these documents internally, you can have it a little more streamlined. You can use AI to streamline your documentation. And then just the reduction of like your oops, anything that's going to surprise you later. It's a nice way to reduce those problems. It's that architect mentality of thinking for the future. When I was an accidental admin, I wasn't thinking about the future. I was thinking about like what I could solve. And then I saw my org again, right? And I saw all the things I did wrong, and it was terrible. And it like broke my heart. I had to go fix these things in my off time just to make life better. So this can help you think about things further down the road that they might end up biting you, right? Like your first flow, you might not roll up into anything that's anything like a governor limit. But when that flow is running on a bunch of records and you've got other flows that are also calling, that record to be updated, now you're running into governor limits. It would have been nice to think about that from the start. fantastic. All right, let's talk about admins with AI. All right, admins with AI, you will work faster and you will work smarter. Not because it's not saying that you're not smart, but referencing everything, right? Referencing what I like to call the hive mind, right? When you're talking about like all of these different communities and all of these different documents, that will make you smarter. That'll make you stronger. It'll help you put together documents quickly. That fastness of putting together a document, like I said, I don't like putting together a project document, but if I had AI when I was first building project documents, it would have been no time at all. I would see the structure of the document itself, and that would help me learn in doing. It removes that first step, that building of any of these docs, and then you can get more into that flavor of actually editing the docs to personalize them for your org. It also helps you evaluate solutions, even ones you didn't think about. In building my app, I took like a solid month of just like testing different AIs. And one of the things that I like to test with that is like, oh, marketing reached out to me and they have a request, right? What does marketing want? Well, they want a new marketing automation tool. They wanted it yesterday. I start laying down like, we do B2B. We need to track email sends. We need to track opens. Since this is a generalized tool, it's not just going to provide you with Salesforce, right? Like it's not going to say, hey, you need Marketing Cloud account engagement, right? Or, the old Pardot, right? It could say, hey, you could get away with HubSpot. You could even use MailChimp, right? And it could bring in those different options to you. In making that ask of the AI over and over and over again, I would also ask for it to like pro-con out, like, hey, I need to bring this to my execs. I want like a full pro-con list. I want pricing details. I want whatever you have. And since these large language models have the ability to search the internet, they go out there and they populate that data for you. Then they provide you with a link. You can evaluate that data and really make sure that it's solid. So like you're able to evaluate solutions that you haven't even thought about, that maybe you were zoned in on Salesforce stuff because you're thinking about, I've got to have that good integration, when other tools can integrate and might save y'all some money. It also helps with like reports and Excel formulas. So 11 years in Salesforce. I'm the worst at report formulas. I tested using AI. I took an Excel formula. I'm great with those. And I was like, hey, convert this over, that like row level nonsense that like it's very specialized specifically for Salesforce. It translated it for me perfectly. So I was able to use AI, take my Excel formula, toss it in there, and then get a similar enough report formula that I could immediately put into the report. All right, we talked about different tools. I showed ChatGPT. I showed Claude. I didn't show XAI. It's fine. They're all relatively fine. At this point, everyone's at about the level where you're going to be happy with them. Claude, once again, it's my favorite, personal fave. But there are also like local large language models. I installed some on my MacBook Pro. Not even like a server or anything, not anything like super computer-ish. And I was able to run it locally. I was able to ask it questions, and it was able to answer them. And all of that was stored locally on my system. It's a little like there's that hump of technicality you have to get over to like actually be able to run that, but it's possible. Both of these, ChatGPT and Claude, they will remember things about you as you ask questions. That's why I spun up those 2 new users. So they'll start building a profile on who you are and like the questions that you're asking. So if you're asking a lot of Salesforce stuff, it'll start thinking, hey, maybe this person works with Salesforce. Claude's responses were fantastic. I wrote this down, so I must say it. The paid version, I even used their projects and they were choice. Mostly because you can take up like your documentation and put it directly into that project and ask specific things about that. Another tool that I have listed on here is Notebook LM. Now it's more researchy, and you might be thinking like, oh, why do I care about that? I am not what you would call like a great reader. I love to hear things. Things pass into my brain super easy. If I'm listening to a podcast, it's phenomenal. It'll just, the data will stick there. My wife hates it because I bring up random facts. But you can take documentation. So let's say like you're implementing HubSpot and you want to integrate to Salesforce, to your Sales Cloud. You can take the documentation from HubSpot, drop it into Notebook LM, ask questions directly about those documents, and it'll like, all its responses will give you like footnotes, where it'll take you right back to the document. But the greatest part is you can then generate a podcast, right? Like use AI to generate a podcast about that implementation documentation and about like any of your org information that you want to provide it. And then you'll hear two human beings, two AI voices, like going back and forth, like talking about how to implement HubSpot, talking about things that you might run into, running through a generalized project. And then you're able to listen to it and, even better, listen to it on 2X, while you're doing literally anything else. And it really helps you out on like being able to like hear and comprehend some things. Another example, my wife she's moving into like the university faculty position, and she wanted to understand like how accreditation happens. I tossed all that in Notebook LM. We started asking a question. She built a podcast. She listened to it, and now she's like much more adept on like the actual approval process. Another piece, coding tools. Even if you don't code. Cursor, Klein, GitHub Copilot, Salesforce CLI they have their own agent. I can never remember if they're running completely with Agentforce or if they're like still dabbling around with Einstein. They go on both. I tested with Cursor on a project where I basically redid that Notebook LM, right? So I spun up a project locally on my machine. I put a bunch of documents that were not code, and I was able to ask questions about those documents, and it provided me responses, which was great. I also threw in a project document and just said like, hey, can you edit this so that it looks better and is more presentable to an exec? And it was able to edit that text document for me. All right. Now, at the bottom, AI accountability. This is where I kind of like branch away from like the agents will run everything, right? And this is where I get more back into keep a human in the loop. So as admins, as you're using large language models, ask it questions, but you're the one who like presses save, right? You're the one who creates the flow. You're the one who's walking through the process and evaluating it. It's always good to have a human in the loop. We build automations for a living, right? In the Salesforce world, we like to have automations fairly well defined before we actually say like, yeah, let's turn that on. Like we want the process defined. We want everything to work the way that we need it to work. So I would say the same thing with AI. Always try and keep a human in the loop. You ask it the questions, evaluate the answers. Don't just take what it's saying like as gold, right? Evaluate what it's saying. Make sure it's not hallucinating. Make sure you don't spend 30 minutes diving looking for like task templates. Don't pull a me. Always implement what you understand. Another great thing that you can do with AI, prompt that I like using for just about everything is explain it like I'm 5. So my wife, again, she works in pediatric cardiac anesthesia. She's a nurse anesthetist. And I don't know anything about the heart, anesthesia. Like I'm a nerd. I do computers, ones and zeros. Give me that. I understand it all that. So topics she brings up to me, I'm like, hey, AI, explain this like I'm 5. Really break it down because I need to like tell me about it like it's a car. I might be able to understand more. I'm not a car person, but like I know it has wheels and it moves down the street. Big thing to remember, plant it in your head. These are general knowledge systems. They have a lot of knowledge about a lot of things, but they're not specific to Salesforce. And last but not least, test everything. Always be testing. Sandboxes is where tests happen, but also test, if you get it into prod, like just test it. Just keep testing. Always be testing. Test it when you build a new thing. Test it when you ask. Like just test. It's the one advice I give to everyone. All right, lots of information. We're at a Q&A where y'all can ask, but I do want to kick off with the first question that I get repeatedly every time I make this presentation, and it's about security, right? I hear a lot of like, oh, we want to get AI used in our team, but like, our security team is really like fired up about it. And what I always say is, you are the first line of defense. In any security, trade secrets, etc., you don't have to share it. like it's not required for you to tell the AI exactly what your field labels are, right? Like it's not required for you to tell like, hey, this is our customer list. Can you find anything that makes sense out of it? Like, don't do that. Just like have a little common sense to keep that information off of your desk. Keep it off the AI's desk. You don't have to pass any of that along, but you don't want to get left behind in this AI job market race. You want to be able to like incorporate these things and show that you're able to incorporate these things just to help kind of flex that muscle and keep you strong. So back to it. Where could you use AI right now? What are y'all's thoughts on like where you could use it in terms of project documentation templates, implementation guides, questions that you can bring up to the AI before it actually goes to the consultant, right? So you can save consultant money so that you can ask for a raise later.
We use Confluence to document all of our integrations and Salesforce instance. And I inherited the layout as it is, but I think I can definitely add to it now using the summarize and with the footnotes and everything to really make it more useful for the next person who comes along, especially.
Yes. Genius. That's a genius move. Like, God, and also thinking about your fellow Salesforce people. Adorable. I love it.
Those who come before and after us. Yeah. I know that would have helped me, so I think that will be a big party plus for the org.
That's awesome. That's a fantastic idea, and I think you could use, like, you can use AI to help you like generate any templatized things that'll help you move forward faster, right? Like, still keep it in Confluence, still make sure that like it's doing all the things that you want it to do, but like you can take that information, you can ask questions about it, you can break it down for people. That's fantastic.
Yeah. I think, and the other one we're doing at the moment is trying to do an uplift of establishing personas for automation of provisioning of users, and also just, so that's a work in progress. It's been in progress for quite a while.
Well, personas always tend to change too. It's like as soon as you document it, they're like, all right, let's swap everything up. We want these different people now. No, that's a great idea.
Explaining to people why I need to really understand what they need to do and not what their titles are.
They're like, it should be fine. No, it's not fine. That's great. That is something that I actually put together. So like I said, I'm building that app. I've already got one on the App Exchange. And I'm like, I'm a solution architect. I don't know how to sell anything. So the first thing that I did was I hopped into AI, and I used to work at Techstars and they do startups. So I was like, let me ask some of my nerd friends over there who sell things. And they were like, hey, who are you selling to? Like, once again, do you have those personas? And I was like, nope. Like, obviously I should do that. That's like 101. So I used AI to kind of help build out those, like, the wireframes of personas. So like COOs, CTOs, who they are, what kind of orgs they're in, what kind of size. And from there, it built out like a beautiful little PowerPoint, right? Something that I could just throw in. And from there, I just started filling in the dots. So I would totally say kick that off.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions?
I'm just going to share. This is my first time joining your session, and this was a totally awesome presentation. Thank you. Like, I use ChatGPT and we use Gemini every day as part of our org, but I always get inspiration of better ways to do it.
Heck yeah. That's rad. That's rad. I mean, thank you for coming. I'm glad that you got something out of it. And we've got this recording, but let me also get that prompt helper shared. So then y'all can use it. Go ham. Bloop. So that's the thing that'll help like build out the prompt. You just fill out the form. Like I said, I took like a month really testing out like all of these different AI large language models, and like getting the understanding of how to write a good prompt. Like really just, it took it to the next level.
Thank you.
Outstanding. Any other thoughts from y'all?
Actually, this presentation is the presentation look and feel itself so nice. This idea is so good.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for sharing that prompt one. And I learn a lot from this. I use ChatGPT to do the user story, those kind of small stuff, but not a big architectural kind of thing.
Well, I mean, you can use it for just a little bit of everything. Just start sprinkling in where you feel it.
Yeah.
That was a great session, Daniel. Thank you very much for doing this for us. So it was great.
Thank you so much. And okay, holler if anybody needs anything, right? Like if you ever have a random thought, like don't hesitate to reach out to me. I mean, I'm a Salesforce nerd, right? Like, you know how Salesforce nerds are. We try and help each other out.
Yeah.
Here's my email address. It goes directly to me. I'm here for helping. Just give me a shout.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good.
I feel like when you say Salesforce nerd, I always hear in my head challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in the Ohana Slack answering lots of flow questions just because I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see if we can solve this.
Yeah.
All right, Amma.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Daniel, for doing this great presentation. I know it helps a lot for everyone, and we are recording and we are posting it in our YouTube channel. So if anyone missed, they can watch and learn. And this is a great job, good one. And the topic is very interesting, and the presentation looks so nice. And for all who joined, thank you so much.
Thank y'all for having me. I will build another presentation. We'll dive even deeper and get really nerdy.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, all.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.